Wife 28F cheated on me 29 meters after 4.5 years of marriage. My wife and I have been together for 8 years. 4.5 of those have been married. I've been under the assumption something was up over the last 1.52 years, and have pressed the issue, but she would lie. Even her parents tried asking her why her attitude had changed. Anyway, last Friday night I was cleaning up the house. She was gone at work and I saw one of her purses on the counter. I decided to empty it out because she is a little messy and will keep receipts for months. I found a letter instead written by a boy. 20-year-old boy. Described in detail their sexual acts. His love for her. It was very disgusting and very cringe. I left her on Friday. But the roller coaster of emotions is too much for me right now. I don't know what to do. Any advice from people that have been in similar situations? I'm staying with family, so they are helping me get by and keeping me safe. Story 2. Went through her phone and found what I was looking for, I guess. I've been with my girlfriend for 7 months now. I met her while she was on break for college and we have been trying to do long distance since she goes to school out of state. One time when I went to visit her, we were just lying on her bed and I found a journal on the side of the bed. I went to open it thinking it might just be drawings since she goes to art school. She snatched it out of my hand and said it was her diary, and that she doesn't want to scare me with whatever's inside. I was a little suspect but didn't really care too much because I trusted her. I knew before we were together she was talking with her neighbor and figured it was probably just things about him. Fast forward a couple months, and she's back in town and something seems off. I hang out at her place one day, helping with some errands, and she goes out to buy us some food. I was alone for a couple hours, and since she doesn't own a TV I got pretty bored fast. I thought I would check her diary to see if maybe there was a domestic issue or maybe she got into a fight with her friend. I was also a little curious to know more about her relationship with her neighbor. So I started flipping though the journal, and the most recent entry was on her birthday, talking about how much she appreciates the flowers and presents I got her, but at the very end she wrote how tempting it was to sleep with Antonio. I went back a couple months in the journal and Antonio was a guy she was talking to before we met when she was here on break. She came back a couple minutes later and I didn't know what to say to her. A couple days later I was back at her house. She was taking a nap and I decided to go through her phone to see if I could find anything about Antonio. She was talking to him on her birthday, saying how she misses him, and she was also making very sexual innuendos. What to do? We have talked about what cheating is to us, and she said talking to anyone else in a romantic or sexual way was cheating. Redditor's reactions. Story 3 after. Redditor 1. It's the middle of the night here in the States. It will be a few hours before I wake everyone. So women like romance, attention, being chased, thinking about someone, first kiss, first sex, etc. UGF is desiring all these things, and most likely one man is not enough. It's not you. She is young and HRE. LDR almost never work. Good luck with that. Redditor follow-up. LDR never works. It happened to me recently. The chick justified her cheating like she did nothing wrong. Redditor 2. Someone once said don't go looking for something because you'll find it. So why are you asking what you should do? You know what to do. You went looking because you went off your gut and it was right. There's no point in arguing, or hearing her make all sorts of excuses. Just break up with her. Don't even give her an explanation, leave her fiending for closure. Redditor follow-up. This comment may have just really helped me. I'm in a situation where my girlfriend tried to get another man's attention on Facebook. After being busted, said she just wanted me, oh no, if he thought she was pretty. I know if he would have inboxed her she would have answered at the very least. Then begins the slow progression of cheating. Was her attempt to grab his attention a form of cheating because of the outcome expected out of her little jab at him? She went on his page and went down far enough that he would know she was checking him out. Feels shitty. Redditor 3, she told you that talking to someone else in a romantic or sexual way is cheating. According to what you wrote about what you saw on her phone, she did exactly that with Antonio, while she was in a relationship with you. So according to her own standards, she cheated on you. You are now faced with making a decision that leaves you with 3 options. Come clean about snooping on her phone, let her blow up for a moment and then ask her if she is done and if you now can talk about the main problem you have, which was not to snoop on her phone but more the reason that led you to do it, her cheating on you. Break up without telling her why. If this is a deal breaker for you, then it doesn't matter if you tell her why you break up. Don't do anything, and by that, be okay with what she wrote to Antonio and accept that she will do that again in the future, since you learned now what she is capable of. That are the options you have. There is no way out of this that will be easy and without any confrontation unless you just break up. One thing that might help you is, if you confront her, is to ask her how she would feel if you would have done what she did and wrote to another woman in a sexual manner. But if all you saw was stuff that happened before your relationship, then she did nothing wrong and you really need to figure out why you feel the way you did. Whatever you decide to do, I wish you all the best on your way forward. Story 3, I 36M snooped and found out that my wife 33F of 3 years has been living some kind of sad double life, and is not who I thought she was. Throw away because the wife knows my main. Sorry in advance for this rambling mess. Since my wife and I got married 3 years ago, things have been off. I know that people grow and change with time, but around our wedding, my wife changed drastically. She bleached her dark brown hair blonde right before the ceremony, and I honestly thought I was in the wrong church for a split second when she came down the aisle. We moved into our house right after the honeymoon, and she went into full domestic mode. We'd shared cleaning duties before, but once we moved into the house, she became insistent on doing everything before I could even get to it. Since this is our first house, I thought it was some kind of homeowner nesting thing, but it never stopped. Her hair color is none of my business, and I think most people would be happy not to have to clean, so I honestly didn't really think much of either of those things at the time. The big thing has always been how closed off she got after the wedding. When we were dating, she'd tell me long rambling stories about her feelings and rant to me when she was upset and all that, and I liked hearing about what was going on inside her head. After the wedding, that stopped pretty abruptly. If I ask her how her day is, she will only ever tell me that it was fine. Or super. She doesn't talk to me about her feelings anymore, ever, even when I explicitly ask how do you feel about X. She also stopped telling me about anything important that happened to her. About a year after we got married, her grandfather died. Did she tell me she'd lost her grandfather? No. She told me that she had to go to a conference for work on the other side of the country, which I thought nothing of. On the second day she was gone, her older brother texted me to tell me that my in-laws had really missed seeing me at the funeral. When I called her to ask why in the ever-loving hell she didn't tell me, and then lied about it, all she would say was, "I didn't want to trouble you. You have a lot on your plate." After that, she went on a couple of spontaneous family trips. She's really, really close to her family, So the first time she said she was going camping with her brother at their alma mater, I didn't think a lot of it other than to be slightly disappointed and confused that I wasn't invited, because her brother's cool and the three of us go camping together a lot. But the second time, I started hearing alarm bells. I'd like to say I'm a more secure man, read it, but after the second spontaneous family trip, my wheels started spinning and I started to think that maybe she was cheating. This was a weird insecurity in the back of my mind for a while. Since she wasn't showing any other big signs of cheating, she wasn't guarded about her phone and hadn't changed her routine appearance. A few weeks ago, she told me she was pregnant. I was over the moon about it until I asked her how many weeks along she was, and she nonchalantly said about 12 or 13. She'd been pregnant for like 3 months before she even bothered to tell me. She's not really showing at all, and she doesn't usually drink, so I had been completely in the ducking dark. I honestly hadn't even suspected. That was kind of it for me. I was sure she was cheating, and that it wasn't my kid. I thought there was no possible way that a woman would keep her pregnancy a secret from her husband for 3 months. So I snooped. Yes, I know I was wrong, but I wanted proof that she'd been having an affair before I moved out. One of my best buddies from college is a divorce attorney, and when I asked him what I should do, he sent me the info for a key logger. I installed it on my wife's laptop and was prepared for the worst. Now, I feel like what I found is somehow worse than her cheating. I didn't find any steamy messages, but I found out that she keeps a diary in a Word document that she writes in every day. I know I should have just stopped once I knew she wasn't cheating, but once I saw my name in her diary, I couldn't stop. I read all of it. All 7 separate documents, going back to way before we even met. Turns out she's not cheating. She's depressed as FCK, hates herself, and has absolutely no trust in me. All of the stuff I'd been confused and bothered by has some kind of sad, self-loathing explanation. She hates having blonde hair, but she writes I know he'd divorce me if I went back to being a brunette, because wives are supposed to be blonde almost every week. The wives are supposed to be thing is tangled up in everything. She thinks wives are supposed to be quiet, which is why she doesn't talk to me anymore. She thinks wives are supposed to make things easier for their husbands, not harder, which is why she didn't tell me when her grandfather died. It just goes on and on and on. She didn't tell me when she got a huge promotion and a raise because he'd leave me in a heartbeat if he knew I made more money than he does. Men can't handle that. It hurt to know that she thinks of me as some kind of one-dimensional 1950s husband, and I've been racking my brain to think of anything I could have done to make her think this way. What I can't handle is that she'd lied about the big stuff. I honestly don't know if I can forgive her for not telling me about the miscarriages. The spontaneous family trips were actually her miscarrying 2 of our children, one at 5 weeks, the other at about 10. She went and stayed with her parents while she was recuperating, and her brother and sister came to support her. But not me. I didn't get to be there for her, because she thinks I would leave her immediately if I knew that she'd killed our children. She's convinced that she caused both miscarriages because she smoked pot for a long time before we got married. For what it's worth, it sounds like her family tried both times to get her to tell me, but she wouldn't. She finally told me about this pregnancy because her parents threatened to tell me she didn't. I'm just absolutely dumbfounded. I don't even know what to think right now. I'm just so baffled because everything she says about me in her diary is insanely nice. She goes on for pages and pages about how much she loves me and how she thinks I'm her soulmate and how she would do anything for me. I just can't understand why she thinks that I would leave her. knowing that she's spent the last 3 years walking on eggshells around me, convinced that I would leave her at the drop of a hat is just so confusing and awful. I feel like our marriage is some kind of lie. The woman I thought was self-confident and ready to take on the world is actually full of self-loathing and really, really, really depressed. I don't know her at all. She's been suffering silently with depression long before we met. She has no faith in me, no trust. She thinks that every hug and kiss I give her and every I love you I say is a lie. I just don't know what to do. She obviously needs serious help, but I don't know how to get it for her. I can't tell her that I read her diary. If she has zero trust in me now, I can't even imagine what she'd think if she knew if I read 6 years worth of her private thoughts. I feel like I need to get my in-laws on board somehow, but I don't know what to say to them. I know I can't ignore this, but I feel like any move is the wrong move. What do I do? Edit. After I posted this I realized I'd kind of omitted the deal with the keylogger. It's worse than it sounds, honestly. After it showed me what she'd written that day I went onto her computer while she was sleeping and opened up Word. I saw that she had several documents called Diary Year 10, so I downloaded them all onto a flash drive and read them at work. I went too far, I know. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, counseling. Right now. She needs way more help than you or her family can give her. Redditor follow-up. I think that's how I would tell her that you saw her diary. Let her know that you think it would be a good idea to prepare for becoming parents by going to couples counseling. Make it a positive thing. Then speak to the counselor before the session. May be a good idea to see if they're a good fit, and tell them beforehand everything you wrote here. Maybe even just bring this post to them and tell them you need a way to 1. Tell your wife what you saw, 2. Apologize for snooping, 3. Tell your wife how you feel about all of this, and 4. Figure out how to move forward from this. That way they can help guide how the session will go. She needs individual help, but couples counseling will be a great way to start and continue alongside individual counseling. Get started on handling this now before the kid is born. I say you should make it a positive thing first before going into counseling, mainly because I would not want to risk seeing how she reacts considering how long this has been going on. 3 years of self-repression and depression is a lot. Redditor 2. I think I'd consider discussing everything you know with a professional, and see what they suggest the next step is. Redditor follow-up. Absolutely do this. There's no telling what her reaction may be when she knows this has been discovered. I'd hazard to guess that it may result in a breakdown. You should have some possible courses of action ready to be followed before having this discussion with her. Redditor 3. Whoa, that is some really bad depression. She needs major therapy, and you both need couples counseling. She's lying to you about very important things in your life, and is internalizing a stereotype that wives should be like a 1950s housewife. Why is she thinking this in the first place if that's now how she was before marriage? You need to tell her about what you've read and that she needs separate therapy and you both need counseling together. Redditor 4. Wow. This is way above Reddit's pay grade. I agree with the other posters. She needs counseling ASAP, and it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get into couples counseling. Good luck op. Hopefully she gets the help she needs. Redditor 5. I know he'd divorce me if I went back to being a brunette, because wives are supposed to be blonde. There is a lot of good advice here about therapy and talking to her and such, but I would also encourage you to suggest she become a brunette again somewhere along the line. If she obsesses over it that much, Maybe you telling her you want her to be that brunette she thinks she can't be will be a small token of you loving and accepting her. Ready to follow up, what if she just freaks out due to thinking she's been a bad wife the past 3 years for not being brunette? Might be a good idea to seek counseling first. Redditor 6, she needs therapy. She needs serious, intensive therapy. And you both need counseling together. Her views on marriage and how to treat herself and you are incredibly unsettling and unhealthy. She needs professional help. Blaming herself for miscarrying, suppressing her emotions and self-hatred are all heartbreaking. Please get her help. And yourself help. And your marriage help.